Our product manager just came up with the UI specification for our new software as a service product, and I really want to get it right before we start with the MVP development. In order to improve her prototype, I came up with questions that I asked her, and we're going to go through them and see what we can improve in the current design. In this video, you will see how I criticize the UI prototype from the developer's perspective. Point number one, what's the hierarchy of information? The hierarchy of information is super important. It's the visual hierarchy, the things that the user sees first. It follows a normal specification of an app, something that everybody uses. You usually have the sidebar with the main navigation. You have the top bar of the things that are always there, like a search bar or even the logo. And then you have context information, like here you have the currently selected item. So this one here is currently selected. And then we have child items, in this case, the files that are inside the current selected folder. By the way, what we're building here is a better version of what we already have as a proof of concept. It's a B-roll management system or a digital asset management system for small creators and YouTubers. And the idea is that you can find very quickly what footage you need, and you can tag, and you have a search and everything. So we are now iterating on that, and for that first we wanted to make a really good UI specification. What she sent us is exactly this one here. We did this with AI Studio, Google AI Studio, which works really well because you can just prompt and show and iterate, and there is a chat. You can constantly come up with better ideas and refine what you have. I want to go through and now criticize that. And here I can actually make good comments. This is why I put it into a Google presentation. You see this here. That's a Google presentation. So now we can actually have a conversation in this and we can write comments. So visual hierarchy is super important. Does it all fit together? And is the user following the hierarchy? Do they first select it on the left? Do they then see the item here and can do the operations on the main screen in the middle? There are things that just information for the user, like this widget, which can pop up and out. Point number two, how are other tools solving this? I wanted to see if this is actually the optimal way to do so. And we found some competitor products. This one here is Shading. And we saw that they have done a couple of things differently. For example, if I zoom in here, they actually have the directory on the middle panel. They would put it next to the main navigation and then only the items in here, and it can fold in and out. This is a very good solution, and I just want to encourage that usually we're not reinventing the wheel. Usually we're building software that has been done before, just make it a bit better. Here we can really learn from others, and in this case this is a funded startup with 50 million or so, so of course they put thoughts into that, so we can probably take the best parts from it. And again, great artists steal, as you know the quote. So don't be afraid of copying things from others because it has been tested before. In this testing time, you're just going to save. How close is this to the final design? We came up with a design. It looked like this. It had a certain color scheme. It was, of course, in dark mode. It had a certain lines and so on. So what we see here now is much closer to what we actually want from what we had before. I took a screen grab early on, and it looked like this. The colors were a bit off. It looked a bit too like an AI generated thing. It just was too flashy. And so I wanted to nudge her and tell her, make it more like we actually wanted it. And this was our prototype. This is what the thing we wanted to have as like a UI specification of the colors and shapes. I wanted to stick to that. The good thing is it's very easy to change that. So we have a prompt here, do this whole thing in this style. And then it comes out like this, and this is exactly what has happened right before I made this video. So you see the previous version right here. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, because then you can see more of this content and I'm encouraged to make more for you. What if we are removing this feature? Often we have too much information or unrelated information that is not so helpful for the user right now. So for example, if you're looking at this thing, what she put in here, sync new files automatically, yes and no, and resync updated files. Is that really something where we want to give the user the choice? Or shall we just say, this is what it is? This is an opinionated product that doesn't have this switch. Also, in the MVP development, it will be much easier to code it out because we don't need the switch. We can say, this is the way we go. And if then the user complains, then we can later open up this possibility of having the switch, yes or no. But especially when starting with an MVP, the less choices we give the user, the faster we can go to market. And we're going to probably also build a more stable product. And it's the same thing here. We have this widget where we show this is the current name and an image and a bell. Imagine you're the user and you're logging into this and you see your own name. Yeah, it's great to see your own name and maybe your avatar, but Is it really important? Because you know who you are and you can just assume that you're the logged in user. It doesn't really add any kind of value. And also the bell icon, yeah, if some panel would pop up that shows you current notification, that's great. But if it doesn't, then we can just totally remove this. And it's still in here, so I'm waiting on the next iteration. Every single thing you have to see, does it have a purpose? If it doesn't have a purpose, probably you got to remove it. Do we give enough information for the user? Do we empower the user to take the right action? And this is especially important for choices. For example, here, if the user has to select their folder in this Google Drive integration. So what I like about it, we have a lot of information. This is the size, that's the content that's in here. What it doesn't say is, can I make this change reverted later on? Can I take that back and can I choose another folder later on? So this is something we can probably add here. And also, of course, important for the developer, do we have that information in the first place? So that's something that the developer now needs to check. This is especially important for background processes. And as you've probably seen the widget before, this is a syncing widget. It gives more information to the user. And it's very good to have that, especially for background processes that are not visible to the user, because the user might rely on the data and they need to be in the know if the data is there or not. And then also, do we block the user? This is important when we have any kind of conflicts. If the user knows what's going on here, then he can take a decision. But for that, they first need the information in the first place. That's why we need to add as much information as we can, especially for conflicts. I like the design. It looks good, and it actually has a lot of information here. It really makes sense. What is the default state? What is the user usually seeing when they log in? We see their recent searches. That's cool. When I search for anything on the Google Drive, I use that feature. But the default state here says the search is always there, and there is always a button here. When I pop this up, we should see the expert mode. So hiding something into an expert mode is a good way to preserve the default state to be simple. Let's say we change something here and then pop it back off. We should see that there's still something active. Or we should prevent the user from doing this in the first place and just say clear filters. Yeah, but because what you never want to do is have the user have a setting that's invisible. It should be clear that this is going to be removed. Like, it's a bit like the fridge. When you open the fridge, the light goes off, it goes on. But if you close the fridge again, how sure are you that the light is actually off, right? Next point, how often is a feature used? This is a critical question because often we try to do too much. And this is especially true for people starting to work on UI and UX specifications. Here, there is a lot of things going on. Do we need this widget? Do we need the upgrade plan? Of course, we want to make money, and this is good to have, especially if people are on the free plan. But maybe there is a better way to put this, maybe right after the onboarding. It's really a business decision here, but we should challenge that. We should challenge, do we need the storage meter here? Do we need the settings and members here? This is maybe not necessary all the time. We can hide this in the menu. Do we need the logo all the time? I don't believe we need the logo all the time. And then these buttons, are they really crucially necessary? So I want to always challenge, can we take it away? What if we take it away? Has the user a problem with that or not? And usually we use features much less than we think. Of course, in the end, once the MVP is rolled out, we actually know this. Before that, you can only take educated guesses. If you have a UI specification and you're not sure if that's easy to develop, how about you book a call with me and I can help you out directly.